Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the January 7th, 2021 meeting of the Peoria Planning and Zoning Commission to order. Appreciate everybody's attendance on the commission tonight. Thank you for being here. Thank you for those who attended in person. To begin, I'd like to read an opening statement that we begin all meetings with. Planning and Zoning Commission is composed of Peoria citizens who've been appointed by the City Council to serve on the commission as a civic responsibility without compensation. Our duty is to study and review planning and zoning issues within the City of Peoria. The Commission holds public hearings or may conduct a study session on a topic. Decisions made by the Commission on general plan amendments, rezonings, and text amendments are forwarded as written recommendations to the City Council. The City Council will consider the recommendation of the Commission and make the final determination. The City Council may concur with the decision, modify it, overturn it, or remand it back to the Commission for further consideration. For conditional use permit applications, the Planning and Zoning Commission will act as the determining body and may approve, deny, or continue the application. Any member of the public may appeal the decision of the Commission to the City Council regarding a conditional use permit. The appeal must be submitted in writing to the Planning and Community Development Department within 15 calendar days of the date of the Commission's decision. As Arizona and Peoria continue to be impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, tonight's meeting is being conducted using measures to protect the health and safety of the public, while discussions and deliberations and actions of the Planning and Zoning Commission remain transparent. To ensure the health and safety of those attending tonight's meeting, members of the public are asked to wear facial coverings and social distance while inside the City Council chambers. Members of the public who wish to watch the meeting remotely can do so by viewing a live stream broadcast on Facebook at facebook.com/cityofpeoriaaz, as well as on the Digital Peoria channel on YouTube. The meeting is also broadcast on Cox Channel 11 and CenturyLink Channel 8509. Additionally, the posted agenda online invited citizens with comments or questions on any agenda item to submit those by 6 p.m. in advance of the meeting. If you have any comments or questions following tonight's meeting, you can submit those to the Planning Department by emailing planning@peoriaaz.gov. Again, that's planning@peoriaaz.gov. In the interest of maintaining a fair and efficient hearing, the Commission will adhere to the following steps during tonight's meeting. Each case will be called in the order in which it appears on the agenda unless otherwise announced. Chair will open the case. City staff will then provide a brief report and recommendation. The applicant is then invited to give a presentation. Then the chair will read the submitted testimony provided by the public in advance of the meeting. After all the testimony has been taken, we will invite the applicant back up to provide any rebuttal or final statements. Finally, we will have commission discussion and decision. And that concludes our opening statement. So we're going to begin tonight's meeting with a roll call. Commissioners, please indicate your presence after I call your name. Commissioner Sean Hutchinson.
Present.
Commissioner Linda Grice.
Present.
Commissioner Clay Alsop.
Present.
Commissioner Tony Fighter.
Present.
And Chair is present. Thank you again, Commissioners, for your attendance tonight. And this is the final call for speaker request forms. If you'd like to address the Commission tonight, please fill out a speaker request form. I believe we have them available just outside the entrance to the chambers. And do we have them at the podium as well? Okay, right at the desk there. So you can find them there. If you'll fill those out in advance, we'd appreciate it. Our first item of business is the consent agenda. The consent agenda is for items that are routine in nature, and we have 2 items before us tonight. Item 1C is disposition of absences. And I may need clarification on this. I've got it different on my agenda than I had in my notes. It's discussion. First item, discussion and possible action to approve, excuse the absences of Commissioner Tony Fighter. And is it Commissioner Linda Grice as well?
Yes.
Okay, both. Okay, thank you. From the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on November 5th, 2020. And then item 2C, the minutes, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting held on November 5th, 2020. And those are our 2 items. Commissioners, any questions or comments on either of the consent items before us tonight? All right. Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. We'll now vote on that motion to approve the consent agenda. Commissioners, please cast your vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioners. We're now going to move on to our regular agenda. We have 4 items before us tonight. Under new business, I understand we will be moving one of those, so in effect, we have 3 items tonight, but we're going to take these in order. And we're going to begin with items 3R and 4R, and we're going to lump those together because staff is going to address those in a single report, as I understand it, but we will take action on those separately, as we've done with general plan amendments and rezonings in the past, okay? All right, so item 3R is Triana Park Specific Area Plan Amendment, GPA 20-06, discussion and possible action on case GPA 20-06, to amend the land use designation for parcel 6 within the existing Triana Park, am I pronouncing that right? Is it Triana? Okay. Triana Park Specific Area Plan from single-family attached residential / senior living to multifamily residential. Parcel 6 consists of approximately 12.42 acres and is located south of the southwest corner of Thunderbird Road and 88th Avenue. And then item 4, again, which will be covered under the same staff report, is Planned Area Development Amendment Z05-07A.6. Discussion and possible action on case Z05-07A.6 to allow for a 234-unit multifamily residential community in parcel 6 within the existing Triana Park Planned Area Development. Parcel 6 consists of approximately 12.42 acres and is located, again, south of the southwest corner of Thunderbird Road and 88th Avenue. All right, I understand Ms. Faustino is going to be presenting the report tonight.
Yes, sir.
All
Good
right,
evening, Chairman
take it
Nelson,
away.
members of the commission. This is a request by Evan Bilton with Next Gen Apartments to amend the specific area plan, land use designation, and permitted uses for parcel 6 within Triana Park. Parcel 6 is approximately 12.42 acres located at the southernmost end of the development, which is located south of the Thunderbird and 88th Avenue intersection. Currently, the Triana Park Specific Area Plan designates the land use for parcel 6 as single-family residential and senior living. The applicant is proposing to change the land use designation to multifamily residential. The applicant is also proposing to change the permitted uses within the Triana Park PAD from behavioral health facilities, dementia facilities, senior living, and medical offices to multifamily residential to allow for a 234-unit multifamily residential community. The site is currently vacant and surrounded by the New River Wash to the west and to the south. To the east is the Loop 101 freeway and future office. To the north is a 3-story multifamily residential development, and the closest single-family residence is located within the Plaza del Rio subdivision, approximately 475 feet to the west across the New River Wash. Triana Park is a 48-acre mixed-use master plan development that was envisioned as a walkable community that integrates residential, office, and recreational uses. Both the Triana Park Specific Area Plan and the PAD zoning were approved by the City Council in 2006. Triana Park consists of 6 parcels with multifamily residential on the west and commercial on the east to include retail, hospitality, and office. The Triana Park PAD was amended in 2018 to allow the current uses, which are, again, the behavioral health facilities, dementia facilities, medical offices, and senior living. Both the specific area plan and the PAD allow 860 units with a density of 67 dwelling units per acre for parcel 6. And to date, only parcels 1 and 3 have developed, which are both 3-story multifamily residential developments, and parcel 2, 4, 5, and 6 remain vacant since receiving entitlements in 2006. A conceptual site plan was submitted with the PAD amendment and gives an overview of the applicant's vision for the development. The applicant's proposing a 3-story multifamily apartment community with 234 units, which aligns with the current developed multifamily residential within Triana Park to the north. The conceptual unit mix is 114 one-bedroom units and 120 two-bedroom units. 435 parking spaces are required per the Peoria zoning ordinance, and 441 are proposed. The amenities proposed at this time include connections to the New River multi-purpose path, a dog park, a dog grooming area, 2 ramadas with barbecue facilities, a fitness center, a co-working space, a multi-purpose lawn, 2 pools, cabanas, and a pavilion. All development standards set forth in the zoning ordinance and the design review manual will be reviewed during the site plan process to ensure conformance, to include the required common open space per bedroom and private balconies for each unit. Here we have both the current development standards for parcel 6 and the current development standards for multifamily within Triana Park. The applicant is proposing to use the current multifamily residential development standards, with the only deviation being a reduced density of 22 dwelling units per acre. The existing development standards for parcel 6 are similar to the multifamily standards, with the exception of an increased maximum density of 67 dwelling units per acre. The maximum lot coverage of 50%, the maximum building height of 48, and the building setback along New River Corridor will remain at 0. For the design theme, the proposed development has taken a more updated and upscale approach that is in harmony with the existing architecture within Triana Park. With the proposed development on the left and the existing developments on the right, you can see that the proposed color palette is lighter but similar, along with the use of the color blocking and pop-outs. Heights and building mass will remain consistent with the existing multifamily residential developments and provide continuity along the western portion of Triana Park. The Triana Park development has 2 access points, both of which are off of Thunderbird Road, which is a major arterial. Rio Vista Boulevard is one, and it is signalized, and it is a full access point. The other is 88th Avenue, which is not signalized, and it allows for a right in, right out, and a left in. Direct access to the site is from 88th Avenue, and all street improvements along 88th Avenue throughout Triana Park have been completed. As proposed, staff feels that the multifamily residential on parcel 6 is the best suited use for this site. Since 2006, the parcel has permitted single-family residential, senior living, and commercial-type uses with development not following through. The proposed land use and PUD changes would align the entire western portion of the development as multifamily residential. This will continue the vertical and residential character currently presented on the west side of Triana Park, which horizontal developments such as single-family and commercial would not do. The site also has physical constraints that further encourage the continuation of multifamily through parcel 6, such as close proximity of the freeway, the size of the parcel, the location within Triana Park, and the limited access. All of these make the development of single-family and commercial less likely, yet more easily adaptable for vertical multifamily residential. 2 neighborhood meetings were held virtually via Zoom by the applicant, the first on September 1st and the second on December 14th. Although there were 4 attendees, altogether there were 4 attendees that provided comments focusing on rent pricing, pedestrian traffic, noise from the Loop 101, and vehicular traffic impacts. The attendees were also curious about the scope of the project and the current land uses allowed within Triana Park. Notifications were conducted in accordance with the zoning ordinance requirements. Prior to the first neighborhood meeting on September 21st, staff received 11 letters of opposition proposed for the 3-story multifamily residential development. The major concerns from the residents of were from the single-family development Plaza del Rio, located approximately 475 feet across New River Wash. And the major issues were visual impacts due to building heights, light and noise pollution from the buildings and the residents, and increased vehicular access along Thunderbird. The applicant has spoken with many of the opposing residents and has made substantial changes to the development to address their concerns. In terms of visual impacts, the heights will not increase from the 48 feet that is currently permitted. The proposed site plan also includes a 10-foot setback from the wash, which will increase the distance from the existing homes within Plaza del Rio. As for light pollution, the applicant is required to meet the Peoria Dark Sky Ordinance, which includes shielded and downward-facing lighting. In terms of noise, the amenities have been placed internal to the site and screened by buildings, which will be designed to mitigate noise from the Loop 101, which will increase a quieter condition than what currently exists today with the vacant site. In terms of traffic, the current entitlement allows up to 860 units on the site. The proposed 234-unit development is considerably less intense and less dense than what could be built today, which would result in less trips to and from the site, thus creating less traffic. Prior to tonight's meeting, staff did receive 6 letters in support of the multifamily residential use for Parcel 6. Next Gen Apartments has been in communication with the Peoria Unified School District, who is in support of the applicant's proposed development. The key findings in this case have been met for both the specific area plan and the planned area development in terms of providing a more suitable land use and density, providing an overall improvement that is contextually sensitive to the surrounding area and is in conformance with the goals, policies, and objectives set forth in the general plan. Staff asks that this commission recommend approval of the Triana Park Specific Area Plan Amendment Case, GPA 20-06, to the City Council. And staff also asks that commission recommend approval of the Triana Park Planned Area Development Amendment Case, Z05-07.A, to the City Council, subject to the conditions stated in the staff report. Staff and the applicant are available for questions.
Great, thank you for your report, Ms. Faustino. Do any commissioners have any questions about the report? Oh, sorry about that. Commissioner Alsop.
Thank you. Just a clarification question. I apologize if you already addressed this. So the existing zoning is 67 dwelling units per acre if it's age restricted. And then if it's single family, it's down to 10 units per acre. Is it kind of an either or for the current zoning?
Chairman Nelson, Commissioner Alsup, that's actually with the specific area plan. So the specific area plan states the 860 units at 67 dwelling units per acre for the senior living, and then the 10 units per acre for the attached single family. The zoning actually allows for behavioral health, dementia, the medical office, and the senior living, still at the 860 unit for the dementia and the behavioral health and senior living with the 67 dwelling units per acre. So the zoning's a little bit different than the specific area plan, but this would obviously bring everything into conformance with each other.
So under the current circumstances, basically it would have been a multi-story, large, age-restricted facility.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Any other commissioners have any questions of staff? Commissioner Fider.
Quick question, does the applicant have any interest in the remaining commercial parcels along the 101?
Chairman Nelson, Commissioner Fider, I'm not too sure, so maybe when they come up, they'll be able to answer that for us.
There's no known any plans coming down the pipe for any of those parcels that we're aware of?
Not at this time.
Okay, any further questions from commissioners at this time? No? Okay, I'm going to open up the public hearing on these two items. Is the applicant present tonight? Would you like to speak? Great. You can state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
For the record, my name is Jason Morris with Morris. Pleasure to be here this evening. Happy New Year, and good to see the commission again. We are going to run through our PowerPoint presentation with your permission and answer any questions that you may have about the site in particular. As we look forward to this staff report and the stipulations, the applicant has had a chance to take a look at them. The applicant, just to answer Mr. Chair, Commissioner Fider's question, the applicant does not have an interest in the remaining parcels. Those are not intended to be changed, although as part of our due diligence and the applicant's due diligence, they were asking ownership of those parcels, their plans for those parcels, and the marketing of those parcels. And those are intended as medical office. There's a hotel parcel, but the others are intended to be medical office. Unfortunately, both the office market, as you're likely aware, and the hospitality market are falling behind the residential, especially the multifamily residential market. But it is the owner's hope in terms of those parcels that development of this site will actually spur some interest in the development of the freeway frontage. With that, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, you've had an excellent presentation by staff, and we hope to hit some of those points but not belabor them. You're aware of this site. This is the tip of what amounts to a peninsula between the freeway and the Wash. And this site, although it's been zoned now for 14 years, has not been developed. It is at the end of that cul-de-sac and has access essentially through the street system that's already developed off of Thunderbird. That's one of the disadvantages of developing it in any other manner than a residential type manner. It could potentially have worked for a behavioral health or a senior facility, but ultimately, while there was some initial interest, there is no interest in that. As staff and one of the commissioners pointed out, the existing entitlements are intensive entitlements, and they do allow up to 48 feet of development. As you can also see, one of the benefits of this parcel in terms of the development, unlike some of the other parcels that even I've presented to this commission in the past, is that we really have no neighbors. We don't have any direct impact because we're buffered by both the freeway corridor and the Wash. As we look at the next site, I think I've covered most of the information. I'm sorry, we'll advance one more slide. Most of the information here, but it's essentially an 11-acre site. The idea for Triana Park was to have that mixture of multifamily residential, commercial, the medical, the hospitality. All of those are still possible with this application request, although, again, we believe that we're bringing up the quality of the overall master plan and also creating interest in traffic driving through that overall plan. The previous approval does permit up to 67 dwelling units per acre. We do not intend to take advantage of that zoning entitlement. Just to give you a look as we look at the previous plans on the next slides, this slide gives an indication of the original Triana Park. I think that was referenced in the staff report and may be the subject of some questions about how the original design was intended. The site that is the subject site is actually two parcels in this exhibit, 6A and 6B, but as we see in the next slide, with the amendment, it has become just parcel 6, while the other freeway frontage parcels remain. The other concept that was of interest to this applicant is if there is in fact hospitality and medical development along those freeway frontages, it obviously lends a very good live, work, play environment for Triana Park with this application, because the applicant is proposing a very high-end luxury community that would be commensurate with the type of employment that takes place in the rest of Triana Park and also has started to take place along that freeway corridor. I'll go into the requests if we can advance to the next slide. We are requesting both the parcel 6 land use designation to multifamily residential and to amend the overall PAD. The next slide will give you the proposal. Thank you very much for keeping up with me. I appreciate that. It's 234 units. They're evenly divided between 1 and 2 bedrooms, so that you have 114 one-bedroom and 122 bedroom units. It's very amenity rich. As we take a look at the end of this presentation, I'll give you a sense of some of the other projects by this local developer. It's a local family-owned multifamily developer. And what that means to the city of Peoria is that while in most instances the multifamily projects coming before you are intended to be built, immediately leased up, and then typically sold to larger entities that hold them long-term. In this instance, it is a local developer who builds for their own portfolio, which we believe also allows us to put more time, effort, and quality into something that we know will be holding as our property. It's a gated community. It's also, as we look at the next slide, you get a sense of how it interacts with the Wash. We believe that the Wash is an underutilized amenity, and certainly for the type of resident that would be part of this community, they would take advantage of that amenity along the Wash. They would take advantage of the open space, and they would take advantage of the trails. that line that wash. So we've tried to design the project to take advantage of that, both from a unit standpoint, opening up to the wash, but also access to that wash and the open space. Next slide, please. There's a reference to the outreach. The city of Peoria has a very interesting process about amendments to PADs. And initially, when we did our mailing, we were anticipating an administrative amendment to this PAD. Because one of the neighbors on the other side of the wash in the single-family residential sent notice to the city of their objections to this change. We've gone through this process, but it also allowed us a little bit more thorough outreach to that neighborhood. As staff pointed out, this neighborhood is somewhat isolated from this project because it's over 400 feet away on the other side of the wash. And frankly, the existing buildings were 4-story, whereas we're proposing 3-story buildings at a lower density. So the traffic concerns or the height concerns certainly weren't the same. And we also pointed out that essentially the only view corridor that's being blocked is really the freeway at this point. And in working with a lighting plan and a landscape plan, we were able to overcome the objections of any of the neighbors on the other side of the wash. So at our both September and December meeting, the September meeting was attended by one resident, and it was virtual. We had a very long discussion. Ultimately, they were very supportive of this application. The second meeting, again, staff pointed out correctly that there were 3 neighbors who were on that call. More interesting was that all 3 neighbors had called in thinking it was a different project. So the beginning of the call started out with all sorts of questions that frankly stumped me because I couldn't answer them. I thought I was prepared for this case. I thought I was able to answer everything about the application. And it took about 5 minutes to realize what I was presenting and what they were talking about were 2 entirely different projects. So they actually turned out to be very supportive of this application, and we still had an opportunity to talk about this area of Peoria. I'll go forward 2 slides just to give a sense of some of the other projects by NextGen Residential, so that you can get a sense of both the furnishings, the fixtures, the delivery, and what the project architecture looks like. We can go through these a little bit more rapidly, but this gives you some context in terms of the outside design, the project amenities, the landscaping. Also, the clubhouses are a signature of NextGen in terms of how they program them. I'll also point out as we look at our next slide, and if you can go one more, that the fitness centers as part of that clubhouse are a large part of what is being sold to the consumer. But in addition to that, there's also programming that takes place on site so that it is truly more of a community and the neighbors actually know each other. The last slide I will present to you is just our development standard changes, because I think this really is the heart of the application. The proposed development covers significantly less of the property in terms of the overall coverage. The density is significantly less. Our building height is at 3 stories instead of 4. Our open space is obviously larger because our coverage is less, and we have adequate setbacks on both sides, and as staff pointed out, also excellent access through Triana Park. So with that, I would be happy to answer, as we go to the next slide, any questions that you may have about the application. I'm sorry to take you away from your homes and your families for one case, so I'll try and slow down and answer as many questions as you may have.
No apology necessary.
Make it worth your while, Mr. Chair.
Appreciate that report, Mr. Morris. Any questions for the applicant from any of the commissioners? Nope. I guess we're okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Oh, excuse me, you might ask real quick, it sounded like, I think you answered it, but you're in agreement with the stipulations that were outlined in staff's report?
We are, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. All right, Mr. Ernest, have we received any speaker request forms or, on this one? Okay. And I understand we've been handed, I believe, 6 letters of support from residents, I assume in the area, who live in that surrounding area? Okay. All right. Okay, So I guess I'm going to make a call to the public. Anybody here in attendance that would like to speak to this or has any questions or concerns? Nope. All right, well, I'm going to close the public hearing then. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be taking action on the general plan amendment and the rezoning requests separately. Before we do, are there one more opportunity, Commission? Any further questions or comments from any of you on the general plan amendments specifically before I request a motion on case GPA 20-06? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that we recommend approval of case GPA 20-06 to City Council.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to recommend approval of case GPA 20-06 to City Council. This time, Commissioners, I'd like you to cast your vote. And that passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is the rezoning request for this property. Again, any further questions or comments from Commissioners before we take action on case Z05-07A.6? No questions? Going once, twice? All right. May I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I motion that we recommend approval of case Z05-07A.6 to City Council.
Thank you, Commissioner Alsop. We have a motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Grice. We have a motion and a second to recommend approval of case Z05-07A.6 to City Council, subject to the conditions of approval in Exhibit 1. Commissioners, please cast your vote on the motion. And that passes unanimously as well. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda was 5R, a study session, but as I understand it, that will be moved to the January 20th meeting. Do we need to, I assume we need to take action to move that, or is that not necessary?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it is a study session item, so there is no action. We will just be moving
Not
this to...
necessary to take any formal action to move that?
Correct, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right, then we're going to move on to our next item then. And we look forward to that discussion on the, is that the 20, is on the 21st, not the 20th? Did I get that wrong? That previous slide, which?
It is for the January 21st meeting, sir.
21st, I'm sorry, I think I said January 20th. So we'll look forward to that discussion on the January 21st meeting agenda. All right, the next item is 6R, election of officers. We'll have discussion and possible action to elect officers for the Planning and Zoning Commission for 2021. And this should be interesting considering the number of commissioners we have on the commission at this present time. So do you want to set this one up for us?
I
Ms.
will
Deaver?
indeed, sir.
All right.
Members of the commission, it is that time yet again, first meeting every new year. We elect officers. So slight differences in numbers this year. So as you can tell, we will have an interesting selection to choose from. But interesting to note, because of the rules of procedure adopted by Planning and Zoning Commission, Chairman, you are not eligible for another term, so you will need to sit this one out for chair, but everybody else would be eligible for chair. The reason being is you are only able to serve 2 one-year terms on this particular one. So with that, it's what we basically do is an informal nomination of yourself or your friend for chairman first. We do not need a second. After we've had all nominations, we're going to basically vote for chairman. So would anybody like to suggest someone or suggest themselves for chairman?
I would like to nominate Mr. Hutchinson for chairman.
believe that we have others with tenure, and I think there's 2 former officers, about to be former officers, and 3 new officers, I believe. So I would decline the chairmanship at this time and maybe nominate Linda Grice as the chairman. Tennis down
That's
there.
very gracious of you, but I would like to decline because I have personal commitments this year, and I'm concerned on my time to be able to adequately perform the duties.
I would say the next tenured one would be Clay. So I would like to nominate Clay Alsop to be the chairman.
Reluctantly accept. Unless Mr. Fighter would rather. I accept, thank you.
All right, so all nominations, Mr. Alsop, Mr. Fighter, would you also like to throw your hat into the ring? Or would you like to gladly have Mr. Alsop up for nomination? All right, indeed. So may I have a commission vote for Mr. Alsop as chairman? Congratulations, sir. It is unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, next is vice chair. Now all members except for Mr. Alsop are eligible, so who would like to nominate themselves or others as vice chair?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to nominate Tony Fighter as the vice chair.
Mr. Fighter, do you accept? I'm sorry? Okay. Any others? All right, maybe we have a vote, please. All right, one last time. Now for secretary. Mr. Alsop, you are out. Mr. Fighter, you are out. So from the 3 remaining commission members, would you like to nominate yourselves or others as basically secretary?
Secretary? I'd like to nominate Linda Grice as secretary.
I would be glad to do that.
Excellent.
Any other nominations, or shall we go with that? All right, hearing none, let's vote. Congratulations to you all. We look forward to next meeting. That does mean that you will be sitting in different locations, so please double check on the dais when you come in, because we'll be moving you in different areas.
Very good, excellent. Thank you for running that discussion for us, and congratulations to all of our new officers. All right, so we're going to move on to our next item here, and that is call to the public on non-agenda items. Dell, have we received any requests from the public to comment on any non-agenda items? Would any member of the public like to comment on non-agenda items? I'm looking at one member of the public. All right, seeing none, we're going to move on to our next agenda item, and that's reports from staff. And I believe you're going to give us an update on upcoming commission meetings, if that's correct?
Yes, sir, members of the commission. So a couple different things. I would actually like to introduce the member in the public this evening. This is Miss Sarah Dirks. She is the newest planner to the planning department.
Terrific.
We also have Chris Jasper coming on board next week, so you will be seeing both Sarah and Chris. We have now too many Chris's between Mr. Limka, Hawkes, and Mr. Jasper. We'll try to keep them all separate as well, but you will be seeing new faces on board. I also regretfully have to announce that Ms. Beck, Amanda Beck, has left for new opportunities. It is our loss. We wish her well, but she was quite an asset to our group, and we will think of her fondly as some of her cases come forward, including to next session. Also on reports from staff, As you noted, Chairman and Commissioners, there are vacancies on the board. We are actively looking to fill those positions. We hope to have additional information about new commission members coming soon. So we do recognize that there are vacancies, and we're actively looking to fill those spots. Lastly, before I get into commission dates, is wanted to give a heads up about the Boards and Commission dinner. Typically, it is in spring. We are still in the effects of COVID, if you will, so they are deferring that to fall. So more information about that. It's not off right now, it's deferred for the dinner to the fall session. And then finally, our next meeting is January 21st. It will be definitely an eclectic mix of items, both case and other items, study session, if you will. So we look forward to seeing you on January 21st. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that report. And if you don't mind me asking, are we getting a lot of interest in the vacancies on the commission?
We have had a fair number of interest. It does take a little bit of time to process those who wish to throw their hat in the ring, so to speak. So,
Okay, great. That's true. That's great to hear. Thank you for that. Okay, next we're going to move on to Planning and Zoning Commission updates and report of current events. Do any commissioners have anything to report for this body tonight? Commissioner Fighter.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Deaver, this is probably directed to you. There's a concept that I've been thinking of, and I know that it's not allowed for under our current zoning ordinance, and that is the idea of ancillary dwelling units in single-family zoning districts. As multi-generational living is becoming more and more common in our society, both on the younger side as well as elderly parents. And I know our zoning ordinance does not allow for that. I think I would like to entertain the possibility of maybe potential text amendments that could allow for that type of a scenario. And obviously, there would have to be certain restrictions. It couldn't just be, ancillary dwelling units with, that people can, rent, create new addresses, things like that. I mean, there would have to be some restrictions on it. But I think to be able to create the opportunity for families to have those units for elderly parents, elderly in-laws, younger kids that are, coming out of school. I'd like to kind of open that discussion and see if that would have support both at staff and planning commission and council as well.
Chairman Nelson, Commissioner Fighter, we will bring this item back before because it's a non-scheduled item. I can't talk too much. But what I will say is the city staff, we are working with ASU Project Cities. We already are tasking them to do research on the subject. We recognize that there is a need to address the accessory dwelling units, if you will. We do have that on our work plan coming up soon. So we will be having both study session and kind of work sessions with commission and city council on that very subject, hopefully by the middle to end of this year. We also are trying to, as part of that ASU kind of research project, also allow them the opportunity to present that information to you as part of kind of an experience for them, kind of a real-life experience, if you will. So thank you for that. More coming on that one. We'll address it in a different meeting, if you will. If you would like to have it on a different meeting, we can bring that up.
Please. Thank you.
Great, thank you. That'll be an interesting conversation. Appreciate you bringing that up. Last call. Commissioner
Mr. Chair, I
Hutchinson.
just want to thank you for the last 2 years. You have run these meetings impeccably.
Oh, thank you.
And it's been a real pleasure coming to the meetings and having them run in such an orderly fashion, especially after the previous chairman to you and the disaster he made this place.
Oh,
You really brought it
you
back.
set the bar, Sean. You set the bar. I was just trying to meet it.
Thank you very much for that.
I appreciate that.
It's been a good 2
Appreciate the
years.
kind words. All right, any further comments from commissioners? All right, seeing no further business, I call this meeting adjourned.